Thanks, Mike.
You know me, always.
I have some new setup. I got fancy new equipment.
All righty. We will call the June 26th meeting of the BCRUA Regional Utility Authority to order. Monique, would you do the roll call, please?
President Flores,
Here.
Vice President Thompson,
Present.
Secretary Duffy,
Here.
Director Anderson,
Here.
Director Baker, Director Kirkland.
Here.
All right, and I did hear from Director Baker. He was delayed in getting back into the area. He sends his apologies, but he'll be here next time. All right, takes us to item 3, citizen communication. Anybody here wishing to speak to the board? Seeing none, we'll move on. Item 4, approval of the minutes. 4A, consider approval of the BCRA meeting minutes from April 24, 2024.
Motion to approve.
From, Director Thompson, the second from Director Duff, Secretary, hold on. We have a motion from Vice President Thompson, and we have a second from Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. I'm sorry, just, I'm here for the meeting, and then I'm gone next month, so, so I'm a little rusty. All right, takes us on to item number 5, staff reports. 5A, consider staff report regarding BCRUA capital projects.
Good evening, President and board members. Aaron Archer with Walker Partners is going to lead us off on the update and overview of all the capital projects we have going on.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening, President and Board. I want to give you an update on a presentation that I gave a couple months back and give you an update on all the construction projects that we have underway right now. You can see the list here. It's pretty lengthy. We, of course, have been working on for a couple years now the Phase 2 raw water delivery system. Also the Phase 1D water treatment plant expansion, replacement of the raw water pipeline on the lake bed, 2 phases of delivery points improvements, and the next expansion of the BCRUA plant, Phase 2A. Let's start with the big one, though, the Phase 2 raw water delivery system. As of a couple days ago, we eclipsed the 2-year mark on that contract. Notice to proceed was in June of 2022. We're currently still on track for completion, final completion in April of 2027. Substantial completion would be February of 2027. On the financial side, the contract value was just shy of $225 million. We have no change orders to date on the project. And we did just get another pay app that bumps the invoice to date amount up to a little bit over $100 million. So about 44% complete to date. Update on some of the work occurring out there. I was out there today, that's why I have muddy clothes. I did bring a change of clothes, but it turns out I forgot my shirt. So I'm just in my muddy clothes, apologies. But they have completed a lot of major milestones on the project lately. I'd reported to you during the last board meeting that the tunnel boring machine had reached the lake end taps in the lake, which of course was a huge milestone on the project for that tunnel to have advanced almost 2 miles underground to hit a 9-foot diameter hole that had been pre-drilled. Since that time, they have done some excavation at the location of those 2 intakes and started tying in the intake tunnel liner to both of the lake taps. And what you can see in the photographs here is the team looking up into the location that had been hand mined where they would connect vertically to one of the lake taps. And then to the right, you can see a T installation where we're tying in the tunnel below to the riser pipe above. And so this work has now been completed. And the contractor has moved into placement of the cast-in-place concrete liner. And that concrete liner is starting at the intakes and they're working their way back to the main shaft at the pump station site. They have a very sophisticated concrete formwork that collapses in on itself. They roll it down the rails and then expand it back out and place concrete around that formwork. They've completed to date about 1,500 linear feet of the roughly 9,000 foot long intake tunnel, and they'll continue working on concrete through about this fall. Also, back at the pump station, they've moved into construction of the well shafts. And I put a figure here on the left-hand side to show what the well shafts were. They're the 6 individual vertical shafts that connect to the suction chamber below. Eventually, we'll place pumps in each of those shafts. And so you can see in the center photograph where they have a raised bore machine there on a concrete pad, and they drill a pilot hole down to that suction chamber, and then they put a reamer head on it and pull the head back up to excavate the full 8-foot diameter hole. So they're working on the raised bore construction. They have completed 2 of the 7 boreholes to date, and they continue to advance that work. Giving a glimpse forward to future work, the intake tunnel concrete liner will continue for a number of months. That is some of, I think personally, some of the more difficult work on the job, just that work environment to be down in the tunnel. The temperatures from the heat of hydration of that concrete can approach about 150 degrees around that form work. It's some very difficult work. They will also complete the raised bores at the pump station site. And then once the concrete liner system for the intake tunnel gets back to the suction chamber in the main shaft, they'll start working on the concrete work at that location. I also have in here a bullet for demobilizing the raw water intake. We did talk at the last board meeting about work change directive 1. Should Lake Travis continue to lower due to drought conditions, that there could be a need to decommission that intake. And I know we're going to talk about that some more later, but at this point, we have had enough rains, with most of that falling in Buchanan, some of it coming into Lake Travis, that it does not look likely that we're going to need to demobilize the floating intake this summer or even this fall. There's enough water in Buchanan to continue to meet demands downstream and in the Lake Travis area to hold Lake Travis a little bit more steady. So we're going to hang on to work change directive 1. The contractor's aware of it. They're prepared to perform that work if we tell them to, but until we tell them to, they're just going to sit on that. Okay, let's talk about the 1D plant expansion. Notice to proceed was given on that in May 30th of 2023, which means they're about 65% of the way through the project on a schedule basis. Final completion is scheduled for January of 2025. The contractor got a relatively slow start on that project. I've mentioned that a few times to you. They're no longer slipping further behind, but they're currently about 3 months behind schedule of where they should be. So they do have a pretty good work crew out there. They've accomplished a lot of work. I don't think they're going to regain that 3 months, but that's where they are on a schedule basis. Financially, the contract was just under $17 million. We have 1 change order to date. That change order consists mostly of some differing site conditions. During their excavation for this basin, they found a bunch of buried trash that had been on that site for who knows how long, just a pre-existing condition. And then we had some control modules for the filters out there where that technology basically is antiquated and being replaced. So we elected through this project to change order into this contract the replacement of those filter control modules to update that technology as part of the project. They've invoiced to date about $4.5 million or 27% on a cost basis. Some of the work that they have completed, they have poured the slab of the foundation for the new treatment basin, and they've been working on the treatment basin walls. There was some fairly significant civil work needed for drainage and for the raw water head tanks that are being constructed, and they've completed that work as well. They'll continue to work on finishing up the treatment basin, and they've started work on the thickener for the project, and then this fall they'll start working on the 2 raw water head tanks. The underwater pipeline replacement project has achieved substantial completion. That's a big milestone to have got that pipeline replaced on schedule and resumed operation of the plant. The contract value was about $6.7 million, and most of that has been invoiced to date. There were 2 change orders on the project, resulting in a credit of just under $300,000 for the project. In terms of work completed on that project, the pipeline has been completed and is operating successfully. They've demobilized all of the work associated with the marine effort on that project. The one thing that they have left to complete on the project is they have some valve work to do on shore over on Trails End Road. In particular, they need to repair an improperly installed valve actuator on the 36-inch valve just where this pipeline comes out of the water there on the shoreline that previously caused a restriction in the flow after we had started the system up. And we determined through some field reconnaissance what was going on, identified that as the issue, and determined that they had not installed it properly. And so we will not allow them to get in there and work on that actuator until we get past summer months into a low demand period where we can shut down the plant and allow them to finish up that work. Delivery point improvements phase 1, scheduled for final completion just a couple of days ago, or 2 days ago. This contract is behind schedule. They estimate that they'll complete it on August 9th, 2024. It's being performed by CPUSA. The contract value is just under $500,000. They're just behind on preparing some of those control panels that they're working on. And then delivery point improvements phase 2. This is electrical and instrumentation and control improvements to some of the Leander delivery points. We are bringing to you today the construction contract for award. We opened bids, had a recommendation to award to CPUSA, so we'll consider that later in the agenda. We estimate that we would likely have NTP given to them just after July 4th holiday, with a substantial completion of April of next year. The contract value on that's $612,000. And then last up is the 2A water treatment plant expansion project. You can see in light green the scope of that project, which includes 2 new treatment trains, the new clear well, and some miscellaneous improvements to chem feed systems and disinfection. We're working on that design with the intent to bring it online in 2027 along with the phase 2 raw water delivery system. On a capacity basis, it's about a 22 MGD increase in capacity of the water plant, which takes it up to about 64 MGD. This is an expansion being performed by Leander and Round Rock, with Leander having 11.7 MGD of that capacity and Round Rock 10.6 MGD. Cedar Park is not a participant in 2A. They'll come back into participating on a capacity basis when we get to phase 3. The schedule for phase work through final design and the permitting phase in just late spring of next year. Bid the project just before summer of next year, and then the construction contract will have roughly about 2 years to achieve substantial completion and bring it on before we get to high demands in 2027. I should have told you if you had any questions, you could ask them along the way, but do you have any questions?
Any questions for Aaron? The, to the 1D,
1D.
are there, items in the contract that, because it's 3-month delayed, are there items in there that they're working against or penalties for not delivering on time?
There are provisions in the contract if they don't achieve schedule for liquidated damages. There's also provisions in the contract to administer a administrative cost to the contractor, administrative cost either incurred by BCRUA directly or incurred through Walker Partners as we continue to have on-site RPR services out there. So there's a couple different ways that if costs are going over, there's a cost impact to BCRUA that you can put those back on the contractor.
Okay. And then what's thickener? I saw thickener in there. I don't know what a thickener is.
Thickener is part of the residuals management process of the water treatment plant. As we clarify the water, we take those solids that are removed from the water or from the filters and we send them over to our residuals management stream where we settle those solids out and basically try to make them thicker and thicker until we can press out the solids, press the water out of the solids and take the solids out to landfill.
Very good.
It's in the far back of the plant, not visited quite as frequently.
Very good. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? All right, it's a lot of information. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Great, that'll take us to 5B, consider staff report regarding drought conditions and contingency plans.
I think Aaron spoke a little to this earlier, that it's looking like we're not going to have to deploy the contingency projects that are in the works. The latest LCRA projections that came out like June 5th or 6th pretty much show the levels just staying level. Not a whole lot of movement throughout the summer. And I would add this, that because Lake Buchanan has been the largest recipient of runoff with the rains we had in May, it's like somewhere around 75% full, whereas Lake Travis is still hovering around 34%, 38%? What, 42? Oh, wow. So, but anyway, Lake Travis is still pretty low. But LCRA has informed us that they will move water as needed from Lake Buchanan down to Lake Travis. So not to worry, but they don't want to do it too quickly because the history on that is Lake Travis will then fill up, and it'll look kind of funny to have moved all that water prematurely. So anyway, I think, and I think Aaron's very confident about this, and same with the rest of the people in OC, that we feel pretty good at this point. However, I will say this though, with the, we're in a heat wave right now, and people still need to be very conscious about water conservation. That's all I have.
Any questions for Sam? No? All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, we're appreciative of the rains for sure, and we're in a better position than we were a couple months ago, so we're thankful for that. Resolutions, 6A, consider resolution accepting the BCRA quarterly investment report for January 1, 2024 through March 31, 2024.
Mr. President and Board, we are recommending that item be tabled to the next meeting because we have found, the accountants, Cedar Park accountants found some errors in the report, and we've had quite a bit of conversation with the consulting firm that does that force meter investments, and it turns out, and we had actually a long meeting this afternoon, and it turns out that the cause is that they had a loss of an employee recently that had been doing those reports for many years, and they just, I don't think they saw that how that was impacting the work they were submitting to us. Fortunately, the accountants caught that, and after today's meeting, I feel confident that they're going to get things turned around, and they assured us they would, and so anyway, it looks like, and if for some reason we don't have a meeting in July, in August, we may have 2 quarterly investment reports for y'all,
Okay.
second and third. And
Do we need to vote on that resolution?
Entertain a motion.
Entertain a motion to table the resolution 6A.
Move to table 6A
Second.
as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Secretary Duffy and a second from Vice President Thompson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. All right, 6B, consider resolution authorizing the BCRA president to execute a construction contract with Control Panels USA for the Delivery Points Improvements Phase 2 project.
I think Aaron touched on this one also, that we do have a good low bid on that one. It's CPUSA, but just a real quick background on that. This project was originally bid in last March, and as y'all probably remember, we only got one bid, and it was way over budget. And in fact, the pricing of the line items really was not consistent with what we're seeing in the marketplace. And besides, we only have one bid, so that was rejected, and the design was revised to remove some of the heavy mechanical, costly mechanical items that we decided as an engineering group to push those into the Phase 2A project, and we left just the instrumentation and control, which is what we need more so than we need the mechanical items right now. and it was rebid. And we got two bids, two good bids, and the low bid was submitted by CPUSA for $612,000.28. And the second low bid was submitted by Prime Controls for $796,691. And we, after evaluating the bids using the competitive seal proposal delivery method, we recommending that the BCRA president be authorized to execute the construction contract with them in that amount. And it's all spelled out in the resolution attached with the agenda item in your packet.
All right, any questions for General Manager Roberts?
No.
Seeing none, entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Vice President Thompson, second by Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion passes. 6C, consider resolution approving the BCRA annual operating debt service and capital project budgets for fiscal year 2024-2025, subject to the approval of the participating cities. Mr. Roberts.
I think we have a PowerPoint. Oh. That, oh, that monitor's for the audience. Oh, but y'all can, well,
Can you see it on the dais?
we're on the questions, it shows the questions page.
Nothing?
We can see just the questions slide, so maybe it's just backing up, is all we
Yeah,
need to do.
it's not switching presentations for me.
I don't know if that's a previous presentation or if that's.
Yeah, that's the end of his last one.
Well, if you go into your packet and pull that agenda item, we can easily walk through it. Item 6C.
Yeah, 6C. Should be in your packet. Should be a hard copy.
All right, so we're gonna go old school. But oh, and it's two-sided printing, okay. So y'all have that in front of you, and I suppose y'all probably saw some of the attachments to the item, and, but I'll just start by going through the budget, kind of prescriptively. The proposed 2025 annual operating budget, including capital oh wait, let me back up. So just as a reminder, this budget is for really three budget items. It's the annual operating budget, the annual debt service budget, and the newly added this year for the first time, capital projects budget. And but first of all, the total annual operating budget, which includes capital outlay and reserve adjustment, includes a 21% increase from last year, from 24, and these amounts are shown, and there's a table on the second page, and it shows the amounts that they've increased. And the debt service budget will increase likewise. Well, I don't want to read just amounts in here. Let's see, let me reboot to how to discuss this. So if you just go to the table, the first table on the back of your first page, you can see that total operating budget, which is the third line, the third row from the bottom, that has a 21% increase. And if you look at the change, the three largest increases were in electricity and, what am I losing? And
Repairs.
chemicals.
Repairs.
And then the second largest increase was plant personnel, and the third largest increase was repairs and maintenance. Well, the biggest driver of the budget increase this year is because we had a large increase in the amount of flow we're gonna treat next year, or projected to treat next year. And that's being increased from, it's a 3 million gallon per day increase from 13.35 to, no, it's 13.5 to 16.5 million gallons per day. Where's my last table? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so anyway, so the largest driver is the increase in water demand. And then on the plant personnel, those are just adjustments in the general manager base cost, overtime cost, and really those are the two big ones. And, you know, in my mind, the most important increase we have this year is in the repairs and replacement and maintenance budgets. We've increased those $140,000, and because we had a lot of deferred maintenance and that we've corrected this year. And what I'm not sure of is, since the plant's 12 years old now, that may actually be an annual, you know, we may need to be spending that money every year for the foreseeable future. But I will point you to the last table. Oh, darn it. So, there was,
This one behind the resolution, maybe? Is that the one you're looking for?
This one?
is there one behind? Yeah, no, that's the CIP budget.
There's just two. There's just two in there.
Yeah,
You don't have debt service.
Yeah,
The debt service and operating are combined in the first table.
correct. So what I was gonna say,
There's,
Outside.
was there?
yeah, now, see if you can advance one. Just one slide. Yeah, hit return,
Arrow down.
or arrow down. There you go. Hit it one more time. Okay, stop. That's the table. So, I apologize. This is
Thank you.
horrendous. Thank you, Eric.
We stay and drive.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so the, you know, I highlighted the three largest increases. We actually did have a decrease in supplies and materials and small tools. And that's because we had way too much budgeted for fuel and oil. So anyway, we actually did reduce one of the line items, or one of the categories. But I will point you down to the one, two, three, four. Yeah, the fourth row from the bottom where it says percent OP budget change from prior year is that although we have a 21.05% increase this year, it was 23.37% last year. So, and when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, we're not going in the wrong direction. And then if you scroll down two rows, the cost per 1,000 gallons has dropped a little bit from last year. So we're definitely headed in the right direction on the unit cost of the water we're treating there. So, because when I first saw all these numbers, like, wow, we got a 21% increase, and then I got, yeah, but we've got a 25% increase in the water we're treating, and then we're still on an overall basis. I think we're doing pretty good. So, and please feel free to, you know, ask me any questions as we go. But Eric, could you go down to the next table? And so the last item of the budget is the CIP budget, or the capital projects budget. And I know in the cities you call it the CIP budget. And these are active projects only. And I've worked with, Becca and Ivy and Erica. Everybody put a lot of time digging through all the SWIFT information and for over the last 12 years and putting this data together. Because the phase two, we started spending money on that in 2008. We spent $16 million acquiring all kinds of easements and the land and for the maintenance building. And so anyhow, I'm very these aren't to the penny. I don't think I could say that. But it's the first reconciliation that we've done in a long time on the projects. And so anyway, so now we have it in our budget. It's in the resolution being adopted. And Eric, if you'll just scroll down one more. This is what's actually this is Exhibit A to the resolution. And so, because previously what we always have in the resolution is you got an operating budget, a debt service budget, and then the total operating and debt source, and that's all you see. And this year's budget will include the CIP budget. Gosh, and I apologize for the really wonkiness of that. And I did leave out, and in it's called miscellaneous, I believe is what it's called. We are doing I called it phase two of the asset management system. It's really like phase 1, phase 1A because they wanted to do a lot more, but I didn't feel we're ready yet, and because the phase 1 we were just scratching the surface, and so phase 2 we're going to start doing the spatial diagram. We're going to do the spatial locations of all the assets, all the pumps, the motors, and anyhow, so we have phase 2 of the asset management system, and I think by the time we get through this fiscal year, we'll be ready to have a more probably a more expensive budget to start really looking at seriously what kind of software we're going to get to run the system and all of that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say on it except after the first 6 months, and this is my first budget, I feel really good about the direction really the whole system's going in, and the treatment plant, and I would love to recommend this budget for approval to y'all.
Great. Thank you, General Manager Roberts. Any questions for the General Manager?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say I appreciate the work and just kind of the transparency. If anyone were to ask, like we have it all of it right there, and then just the work that's gone into considering where this repairs and replacement maintenance, because we know how that can impact our ability to operate when things maybe don't have the oversight or just get kind of, we'll deal with it later. So I appreciate all that work.
Yeah, I think it's. I agree. It's a good baseline, and that one slide that we didn't see that had the minute print on it was really good. We just didn't get a chance to look at it. So, but all right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 6C.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice President Thompson, second by Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, that takes us to 6D. Consider resolution authorizing the BCRA President to execute a professional consulting services agreement with Terracon Consultants, Inc. for the provision of construction materials testing, CMT services, for Phase 2 raw water delivery system. General Manager Roberts.
This is a little unfortunate, but we're recommending that we hire a new construction materials testing firm for the Phase 2 project. The current engineering firm providing those services is called TSIT, and they were selected in June of 2022. And however, the company they've been relocating their staff and their offices back to their headquarters, and we don't know all of the internals, but they have been non-performing, very poorly performing, and in some cases non-performing for some time now. And the Walker Partners Construction Phase Services staff, and of course the engineer Aaron Archer, has been recommending that we need to get a new firm. And so I started looking at the contract we have with them, and I met with Steve. She's the general counsel, and we reviewed that, and it has a termination clause that allows the general manager to terminate it with notice to them, written notice. It calls it a 30-day termination, but it's really effective the way it's written in the contract. It's effective upon receipt. So we have not sent that termination notice yet because this testing is every day. It's concrete cylinder testing. It's very important testing, and they're doing the test. So we went and interviewed two very qualified engineering firms that provide these types of services with the plan of negotiating a professional construction testing consulting services, which is what this is, because we don't really have time to do an RFQ that would take 3 or 4 months, and besides that there's a lot of qualified professional talent out there, and the one that and Aaron and his team did most of the review of the quals, but I've heard of the firm, and they're recommending that we enter into a contract with Terracon Materials, Terracon Consultants for a construction materials testing contract, and they've negotiated it with them, and it's we did. We put the contract the contract's in the packet. And it's interesting because in the contract, it has this detailed estimate, because it's a time and materials contract where they, every type of test they do, whether it's a soil test or a concrete test, it has a different cost. And then and the people that work on it, they have different hourly rates. And so they did a really thorough job of estimating, and they came up with $250,140 to finish the job, which is about another 3 years. Yeah, but then in the proposal, they're recommending that we authorize $280,000 to add a little contingency, and the engineering firm, or Aaron's Walker Partners, absolutely recommends that. So we asked Steve to put that in the resolution that it would authorize it up to a maximum of $280,000 without owner approval. So with that, I would entertain any questions, and otherwise we're recommending the authorization of the president to execute the contract, and we have the contract with us tonight. It has been signed by the consulting firm, and then we will proceed with the termination of the existing contract.
Any questions for General Manager Roberts? So if we execute this, when do we think the Terracon will be on site?
Immediately. Well, Aaron, do you want to answer that question?
Immediately, as soon as we get the contract.
Like tomorrow, Monday? All right. All right, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
A second.
All right, motion by President Flores, second by Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. That takes us to Resolution 6E. Consider a resolution authorizing the BCRU president to execute an agreement with Pedernales Electric Cooperative regarding the design and construction of upgrades an expansion to the PEC nameless substation for provision of electrical service to the Phase 2 raw water delivery system. General Manager Roberts.
This is probably our last large contract with PEC on all the power upgrades that are necessary to serve the deep water intake pump station. And we're really pleased to have it to you tonight. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this one. And you may recall the two previous contracts are the temporary power contract and then the permanent power contract, which y'all approved not long ago. And then this is the name of the substation, and as it implies, it's an upgrade, a major upgrade to an existing electrical substation on Nameless Road, and off of 1431 that we have to pay, a pretty big chunk of the cost. There's actually a very large transformer, a multi-million-dollar transformer that's going to be purchased, and we're only paying 25% of that because they're getting additional capacity from the rest. But anyhow, the contract's very similar to the previous contracts in that the actual costs of our costs of the work will not be fully known until it's complete, and definitely not until they start negotiating contracts with their preferred contractors. And but I will tell you, because I was kind of curious about it, and when we were digging through all the CIP expenditures, trying to get the CIP budgets together, is that we do know this, that the SWIFT funding has been obtained for about $25 million, and that was for the permanent power. And I'm sorry, yes, that was for the permanent power and the substation. So, and based on what we're seeing, costs coming in on permanent power, we think that the 25 million is going to be adequate for that. But nevertheless, that's why there's really no exact cost number in there. But it is a critical agreement that we need to get underway as quickly as possible, because it's a critical path item for the whole system. So, and of course, Steve Sheets, General Counsel, prepared this agreement, and we discussed the mechanism of it, and PEC doesn't give you a whole lot of input into the contract, except they've done what they said they would do. I will say that so far. So with that, I entertain any questions, and we would recommend approval of the agreement.
All right, any questions for General Manager Roberts?
No.
All right. Entertain a motion to item 6E.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion by Secretary Thompson, Vice President Thompson, Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That resolution will pass. Thank you. 6F, consider resolution authorizing the BCRUA president to execute supplemental contract number 1 to a contract for engineering services with Walker Partners to provide additional litigation engineering services for the underwater pipeline project. General Manager Roberts.
Yes, in May of '23, a contract with Walker Partners was approved by the board for providing litigation support, engineering services related to the underwater pipeline in the amount of $49,201. It's now become necessary to amend that contract to add additional amounts because the legal services will continue for some time. And we're proposing to do that through a supplementary contract, basically an amendment to the existing contract, and for an additional $75,000. And that will increase the total contract to $124,201. And there's really, it's paramount that we have these engineering services. They work very closely with our outside legal counsel, and so that's why we put this together. And with that, I'd be happy to answer questions and recommend approval of it.
Any questions for General Manager Roberts? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
All right, motion by President Flores, second by Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Thank you. All right, 6G, consider resolution authorizing the BCRA president to execute change order number 1 with XL Construction for the Phase 1D Water Treatment Plant Expansion Plant Project. General Manager Roberts.
I think Aaron touched on this earlier. I'm glad he described the trash dump that we had to be cleaned up.
Thickner.
Yeah, and that's where the thickener came in. Yeah, this is the first change order, which is great on any construction project that's been going on for almost a year now. And it's not that big. The total amount's $190,963, and we have a very healthy contingency on that project. And the two biggest things I think the two most costly things was the additional excavation for that to get down to good material on which to build the sedimentation basin. And then we repaired an old wall crack, and we did a very, very good, very professional job of it. And I was very happy with that. And then we're upgrading the filter, these input controls on our media filters. It's the final process before the water gets disinfected with sodium hypochlorite. And just another example of why, the plant, all these controls are like, well, they were probably purchased 14 years ago. They were actually put online 12 years ago, and now we're replacing them all. But we're getting to do it with a construction project because the new basin we're building has the same types of controls, and so they came to us and said, hey, we got to put these new controls in for this new basin. Why not go ahead and replace them on all your existing basins? And so we jumped at that opportunity, and that's what this change order is mostly about. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions and recommend approval.
All right, any questions for General Manager Roberts?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt item 6G.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Vice President Thompson, second by Secretary Duffy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. That was a long list of things to work through tonight. That'll take us to item 7, Director closing comments regarding items of community interest. Director Anderson.
Oh, thank you very much, and good night.
Director Thompson, Vice President Thompson, my apologies.
No problem. Good night.
Vice President Duffy.
Oh.
Secretary Duffy.
Whatever.
I'm all over the place.
Thank you.
Director Kirkland.
Just glad to see all the cities working so well together. Everybody have a good evening.
Good. Well, I know that's a lot of work. There was a lot of material to cover. Appreciate everybody staying with me and giving me the chance to mess up a few times. We certainly want to congratulate Vice President Thompson on her reelection bid, and
Thank you.
congratulate Director Kirkland for not drawing an opponent. And so, that's an easier route. We had a switch in seats as well in Round Rock. Former President Baker chose not to run for reelection, and so the city asked him to stay on as a citizen director. So we kind of just switched seats. Matt Baker will continue on as a citizen director for the city of Round Rock. We're happy about that. We had put together a nice plaque for him, and we were going to give it to him tonight and thank him for his service and time as president. And he just unfortunately not able to be here, but we will pass that along. But certainly want to acknowledge him publicly from the dais that all his time and effort to doing the work of the president for the last year. So we're thankful for that. If there are no other items, we are adjourned. Good night.